The sky turns red, the ground trembles, and sirens scream across cities as millions of people rush for cover. Realizing that what humanity has feared for decades is no longer a nightmare but reality, World War III has begun. The question is not whether it will happen in our lifetime, but how it might look if it ever does. The truth is terrifying, because unlike the wars of the past that were fought with rifles, trenches, and tanks, the wars of the future would be unlike anything humanity has ever faced. A single mistake, a single miscalculation, could wipe out millions in seconds and reshape the planet forever. If World War III were to happen, it wouldn't start the way wars once did. It would not be a king sending his knights into battle, or even a country invading its neighbor with foot soldiers and cavalry. Instead, the first shots of this war might not even involve bullets. They would likely begin in the shadows, with cyber attacks shutting down power grids, collapsing financial systems, and spreading chaos through misinformation campaigns. Imagine waking up one morning to find your bank account drained, your country's military satellites blinded, and planes grounded worldwide, all because of invisible code typed on a keyboard. Before the first missile is launched, nations would already be bleeding from the inside. But once the first real strike comes, the escalation would be swift and merciless. Experts believe that World War III would most likely involve the major global powers, the United States, Russia, and China, with NATO and regional powers inevitably drawn in. Unlike past world wars, this one would not be confined to Europe or the Pacific. It would engulf every continent. Strategic choke points like the South China Sea, the Strait of Hormuz, and the Baltic region would instantly become flashpoints. Satellites orbiting above Earth would become targets as nations scramble to blind each other's intelligence networks. Imagine the night sky filled not with stars but with streaks of burning satellites falling back to Earth after being blasted by anti-satellite missiles. The technology of this future war would be terrifying. Drones capable of hunting in swarms would dominate the skies. These machines, guided by artificial intelligence, would not need human pilots. They could track, chase, and destroy targets without hesitation, making split-second decisions faster than any human soldier ever could. Armored robots might patrol streets, enforcing martial law in captured cities, while hypersonic missiles, traveling at 5 to 10 times the speed of sound, would strike without warning, leaving no time for defense. Unlike the nuclear missiles of the Cold War era that took half an hour to reach their targets, hypersonic weapons could deliver destruction within minutes. And yet, nuclear weapons would remain the deadliest shadow hanging over humanity. In a conventional war, millions might die, but once nuclear warheads enter the equation, billions of lives would be at risk. A single nuclear submarine carries enough firepower to erase entire countries. If even a fraction of the world's nuclear arsenal were unleashed, the planet would face a nuclear winter. The skies would darken as ash and debris block sunlight, crops would fail, temperatures would plummet, and famine would sweep across every corner of the globe. It wouldn't matter which side won the war, because in a nuclear World War III, humanity itself would lose. But war is not only about bombs and bullets, it is also about the collapse of society. In a modern world war, food supply chains would break down, water systems could be poisoned or shut off, and global trade would grind to a halt. Countries that rely on imports would starve, while others would fight to hold on to what little resources they have left. Diseases would spread rapidly in overcrowded refugee camps, and with medical systems overwhelmed or destroyed, even basic illnesses could become deadly again. People would turn against each other for survival, and civil unrest would erupt in cities across the world. Unlike past wars, World War III would not only be fought on battlefields, but also in cyberspace, outer space, and even inside the human mind. Psychological warfare, powered by deepfake videos and AI-driven propaganda, would blur the line between truth and lies. Imagine not knowing whether the news you're watching is real or fabricated, not knowing if the voice ordering troops into battle is your president or an AI-generated fake. In the chaos of such confusion, fear and mistrust would spread faster than any bullet. The oceans would not remain silent either. Submarines armed with nuclear warheads would lurk beneath the waves, waiting for the order to strike. Autonomous underwater drones could sabotage communication cables that carry the internet across continents, plunging the world into silence. Naval battles, once fought with cannons and aircraft carriers, would evolve into high-tech clashes involving laser weapons, electromagnetic railguns, and robotic fleets. Cities would become the new battlefields. Urban warfare in megacities like New York, Shanghai, or Moscow would turn skyscrapers into death traps. Swarms of drones would fly through streets and windows, targeting both soldiers and civilians. Civilian technology like smartphones, GPS, and even smart appliances could be hacked and weaponized. In such a world, nowhere would truly be safe. And yet, despite all this, the scariest part of World War III might not be the immediate destruction but the aftermath. Let's imagine for a moment that the war does not end in total nuclear annihilation. Even then, the world would never be the same again. Global economies would collapse beyond recovery, borders might be redrawn, and superpowers could fall while new ones rise. Whole generations would grow up in fear, trauma, and ruin. Some futurists even argue that World War III would not end with treaties or peace conferences like the wars before. Instead, it could drag on endlessly, fought through technology and proxy battles, with no clear winner. AI-driven machines could continue to fight long after human leaders are gone, programmed to finish a war that no longer has meaning. A future where humanity loses control of the very weapons it created is not just science fiction, it is a real possibility. But is World War III truly inevitable? That is the question haunting millions. The rise of nationalism, the race for resources, the competition for dominance in technology and space, all of these fuel the fire. History shows us that when great powers collide, war often follows. Yet history also shows us that humanity has stepped back from the brink before. During the Cold War, the world came dangerously close to nuclear war several times, and yet restraint, diplomacy, and sheer luck prevented it. Perhaps that is our only hope, that reason will prevail over aggression, and that humanity will realize a war in the 21st century would leave no true victors. Still, the thought lingers. If a war were to break out tomorrow, if the fragile balance of global politics shattered with just one missile, what would we do? Would we hide, fight, or simply watch the end of the world unfold on our screens? The terrifying truth is that no one really knows. All we know for certain is that if World War III ever begins, the future of humanity will be decided in days, not years. The line between survival and extinction will be certain, and so, the question remains. What will World War III actually look like? It may not look like anything we can truly imagine, because by the time it begins, it may already be too late. Perhaps the real war is not between nations but against time itself, time to prevent, time to act, time to ensure that the greatest war of all remains nothing more than a dark possibility and never becomes our reality.